your kitchen dietitian, and today I'm going to be making a traditional Dutch meal. So Dad, what are we going to make today?
Well, this is something, as a young child, having immigrated to Canada, my mother would make what she would call Boerenkool, which was traditionally a poor farmer's meal in the wintertime. It was cheap to make. It was potatoes, onions, and kale, or Boerenkool. This would be cooked on the stove, mashed together, and in many homes they always had a pot of gravy.
Well, I love the sound of this meal because it uses kale and potatoes, which are things that we can grow at home in our gardens. So not only is it local, but it can also be very healthy. Traditionally, the Dutch might use these larger russet potatoes, but I find the skin a little bit too thick and I like to keep the skin on my potatoes, especially when I'm mashing them. So instead, we're going to be using some new potatoes where we can keep the skin. The glycemic index is also lower on new potatoes than for russet potatoes. So that means our blood sugars won't go as high and we'll have energy for a longer period of time. So how are we going to cook the sausage today, Dad?
We're going to cook these double smoked farmer sausages in water, and a lot of the fats will boil off, and then once they're boiling, we'll just turn the heat down and keep them hot until we're ready to put them in later.
So my sister is helping us today, and she is very good in the kitchen as well as in the garden. So she volunteered to chop the kale. So kale is a very hardy vegetable, but it doesn't grow quite as well in the winter. So a nice way to make sure you have kale all year round is to store it in the freezer in a bag and then add it to your potatoes or your soup.
Unsalted butter. Put that through the potatoes.
So I thought this was usually made with cabbage.
Well, we have a dish with cabbage too, and sort of similar, but whatever's handy. I mean, folks in those days didn't always have a choice of what they had, and you had kale in the late fall, or cabbage, or whatever you had, right? You had to feed yourself, and it was survival and necessity in those days.
Traditionally, this is a one-pot meal. We decided to saute the kale separately because our kale was a little bit tougher. If we had used baby kale, it's softer, which makes it easier just to throw in the pot with the potatoes.
Very good.
Does it taste like Grandma's?
Yeah,
Really?
it does.
There we go. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Your Kitchen Dietitian and Family. Please join me again next time. Bye.
Kale chips is a favorite for everyone. They just have a wonderful taste that you don't experience anywhere else. You rinse your leaves and dry them, and then you spread them on a broiling pan for your oven. You can put seasonings on and pop them in the oven till they're crispy. Let them cool for a very minimal amount of time. You barely want them to cool because you want to pop them in your mouth so quickly and eat them.
My mom's very own kale chips. Mmm, crunchy.
This dish is so tasty. The flavor of the nutmeg and the vinegar, just the hint of that flavor comes through. The hint of the